So you're thinking of moving to the villages and you have a furry friend. Can you make the move, and what should you know first? So in general, yes, you can make the move, but it might depend on the neighborhood that you're looking into, and it might depend on the size of your furry friend and the behavior. So let's talk about that for a minute. I made a video the other day about HOA in the villages, and basically I summed it up. There's no HOA here, with the exception of one or two villages. Now, I have in the villages, there's gonna be districts, and the districts are broken down into villages, and the villages are broken down into neighborhoods, right? So you might have a courtyard villa neighborhood. This one in particular that I'm going to point out for a minute, because I did a little more research, because I knew that there was this HOA community, and so I dug up and found what those restrictions were. So in the village of Rio Grande, I had to look up the name of it, Villa de la Mesa South. So that is the courtyard villa neighborhood that actually does have an HOA. So if you caught my other video about HOAs, I mentioned that, the older section, they were kind of making sense of how they were putting together the neighborhoods and what, restrictions they're putting in. Each district has their own rules and regulations. And again, each neighborhood in the district might vary from, different specifications of those rules. So it's really, really important as you are shopping for a home and settling on where is the best place for you in the villages, especially if you are thinking of renting or owning a pet. Those guidelines are really going to be important to go through and to fully understand. So there was a buyer who was looking into a home in this courtyard villa neighborhood. It turns out there is an HOA. The HOA is $800 a month in that neighborhood, in addition to the amenity fee of $204 a month. Now, what does that get you? That gets you little extra rules, and it does give you an extra pool and park. So they have their own private park and pool. So in the villages, as you probably know, there's over 100 pools. There's various rec centers, there's golf courses. So your $204 amenity fee, that gets you into all of that. There are additional fees in the villages if you're thinking of doing, championship golf courses, country clubs, things like that. So back to this neighborhood, again, they have their own HOA, $800 a year, and they have their own little pool and park. And they have their own set of rules. So it turns out you cannot have a dog over 40 pounds. So in this neighborhood, you have to have a dog under, if you're having a dog, it has to be under 40 pounds. Now, that is not the norm in all neighborhoods, and I wouldn't push it. So if those are the rules and guidelines, now you can get exceptions if it's, a service dog, even emotional support dogs. Don't quote me on that, but there are guidelines in place. I know in the villages that you're going to be protected on that. So you might really need to do your research if you are set on a certain neighborhood and you come against that. Now, the rest of the villages, in general, what I have seen, you still have your district rules. Again, you're not going to have an HOA. You're going to have district rules, and those will vary from neighborhood to neighborhood. And in general, what I typically see, and this could change, like right now I'm in Mallory and I looked up exactly what the guidelines are here, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But in general, what I've seen is if you have 3 pets, 3 cats or dogs, you are good to go. But if one of those passes away, then you're going to have to keep it just to 2. Now, how are people going to know, right? People will say that, well, it's a respect thing. In the villages, you really want to respect your neighbors. I looked up in the village of Mallory, and it turns out it's just 2. There's no guidelines on weight limit or anything like that. They just say don't have any animals that are exotic or livestock type animals. Basically just a cat or a dog. You can have up to 2 of them and clean up after them. If they go to the bathroom, clean up immediately after them, and just make sure that they are not a nuisance to anyone's property or to anybody. So it's just, again, just a respect thing. It's funny, I'm on some neighborhood pages on social media in the villages, and one of them is talking specifically about HOAs, and the neighborhood doesn't, the villages as a whole, as a rule, does not have HOAs. They're like, how in the world, these people were visiting, they said, how in the world does the villages stay so clean and pristine? Like driving around, they said the yards were just amazingly kept. If there's no HOA, how does this neighborhood stay so beautiful? And the answer is really people just have respect for their property, for the town that they live in, for their community. Yes, there are going to be district rules and guidelines, and they want you to keep things a certain way, but it's not heavily enforced. Again, it's just a respect thing. So same thing goes with owning a pet here. I am a pet lover. I love dogs. I love cats. I love exotic animals. I've had so many different pets in my life, but I know that there's certain villages that I could not even think about living in, right? That there are things you need to go by. So if you have a large dog, definitely keep that in mind. You can go right on thevillages.com, pull up the district rules. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing. I will put my info in the chat or in the description here, and you can email me, text or call. Usually texting works great. And just reach out, say, hey, I'm thinking of moving to Mallory, or I'm thinking of moving to Orange Blossom, or I'm thinking about moving outside of Eastport. What are the rules? What are the guidelines? I would love to help you make sense of it, because again, even if you know the villages really well, even if you live here, there are certain little pockets, certain little neighborhoods that might have a little bit different standard. I hope that helps. I hope that you find the perfect home for you and your furry friend. And if you know of someone who is thinking of moving to the villages, I would love to help them. Please feel free to share my contact info. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.